Hello, I'm Bart Elsey. I am a hobby farmer, and I'm in the military. And what I did was I started with my kids. The reason why I got into hobby farming was basically my kids in 4-H. 4-H is a very good program. It teaches kids responsibility, discipline, understanding what it takes to take care of animals and how they depend on you. And really, that's why we got into it. It grew from there, and we started showing cows, Jersey cows, and we raised pigs and chickens, and basically did a little bit of everything. But it started out with 4-H, and it just kind of grew from there. And you had some questions?
Oh, yes. Let's take some questions from the web. Okay. Sarah A. asks, my family always says that when cows lay down in a pasture, it's going to rain. Is there any validity to this, or is it an old wives' tale?
Well, there's a lot of old wives' tales. Usually a cow will lay down, they're resting. A lot of times after they eat, they'll lay down, they'll chew their cud. Cows have 4 stomachs, and what they'll do is they'll eat a lot of food, whether it's hay, whether it's grass, grain, whatever it is. And a lot of times after they get done, they fill their bellies, they'll go down, lay down, relax, and they'll rest. And it's called chewing your cud, and basically they regurgitate the food that they had eaten, and they chew it up, and that helps in the digestive process. So there's really different reasons why they lay down, but usually they lay down to rest, just like humans.
But the weather's not related.
There's a lot of wives' tales, and that's not the real reason why a cow lays down. Because you'll see cows lay down, at any time, whether it's sunshine, whether there's rain in the forecast, or what it is.
Have you found any old wives' tales to be true as far as cows are concerned?
No, not really.
I remember hearing, and I don't know if this is still done, I don't know if this was ever done, but about the 4 stomachs. I remember hearing farmers would have the calves swallow a magnet, so all of the metal would end up in...
Yeah, if a cow's out in the field and it gets some type of metal, whether it's a nail, a wire, or something it ingests, it can kill a cow. And what will happen is, and the reason why they do that is they put a magnet down in it, and it's to protect the cow, because that magnet will pull that nail or whatever and prevent the stomach from turning it and moving it and kind of ripping up the belly. So it's a very effective way of preventing a piece of metal, or whether it's a nail, whether it's whatever it is, a piece of fence or something like that, from tearing the inside of the cow up. It's very effective at helping prevent the cow from damaging itself. So that is an accurate and effective procedure.
How do you get the calves to swallow the magnet?
There's a tool, and that's how you give them medicine also. Same procedure. And what you do is you'll hold the cows by the head. It's like a long tool. It's plastic, and it doesn't have edges. And you take it and you put the pill, and the pills are about this big, if you can see that on the camera, for a large adult cow. So the pills are about this big. You'll put that in that tool, and it's round and long, and you pull the thing back, insert the pill into the front end of the plastic, and then you hold the cow's head up, you open its mouth, and you go behind the teeth. You'll go beside the teeth and go back into where its throat is, and then you just pop it, and it pushes it right down the throat.
Wow.
So.
Okay. Did the cows take to this easily, or
yeah. Well, the first time they do it, they're like not sure what you're doing. Yeah. But after a couple times, they get the picture, and the only time you're ever doing it is for some reason to help the cow. There's different things that they have. It's just like humans. You have a bellyache, or you have indigestion or something like that. You take Rolaids, or You know, it's just kind of similar to that. So it's to help the cows what you do. There was actually a time when I had a calf born, and the calf wouldn't nurse. It wouldn't even drink out of a bottle. So similar procedure. What we had to do is we had to bag feed the calf. It wouldn't even drink. I mean, you put the bottle in its mouth, you know, the nipple in its mouth, and it wouldn't do anything. So what we ended up having to do, and this is a thing similar to that, is I had to put a tube down its throat and with a bag on it with the colostrum and the milk in it, and I had to feed the calf that way. And that calf within 2 weeks was up nursing, healthy as can be, but it survived. If it wasn't for that procedure, if it wasn't for that thing, there's no way the calf would have lived. So it was a success story. It ended up having growing up to be a cow and having calves of its own. So sometimes in nature you don't know why. They just don't do what they're supposed to do. So you have to help them. So
Let's take another question from the web. Okay. Andrew asks, and this is a little outside the box, so to speak, but Andrew asks, what is the significance of cows in mysticism?
From my perspective, very little.
Okay. Sharon asks, how many different breeds of cows are there?
Oh man, I don't even know. I can't answer that question. There are so many breeds across the world that I don't know. There's different types of cows too. Some cows are raised and they're bred primarily to produce milk, dairy cows, and that's what I raised. And there's some cows that are produced primarily for beef. And you know, like dairy cows, the two primary or the two largest would be Jerseys and Holsteins, Holstein being the largest. And there's differences in the types of cows, and there's reasons why some people prefer one over the other. For example, the Holstein, it produces a lot of quantity of milk, a lot of milk. The Jersey doesn't produce as much milk, but it has higher components. So it's better for making cheese and things like that. So it depends on what the goal is of the farmer and what really his preference is, or her preference, as to why they choose the breed that they choose. So there's some animals that were produced to kind of be both. Brown Swiss was an example of that. They could use them as milk or beef. So it depended on what your goals were with your farm and what you were trying to do. And then beef, probably the most popular is Angus. You've got Herefords. You've got, you know, different beef cows too. But to tell you how many different breeds there are, I don't know that.
You raised Jersey cows.
Jerseys, yeah.
How did you decide to go with?
It goes back to the 4-H and with my kids. The Jersey cows are smaller. Holsteins are a lot bigger than Jerseys. They're a lot, from my perspective, they're a lot tamer. They are easier to work with, and when you had kids that were showing them, you know, it was the right size for what our goals were.
You liked the Jersey cows?
I loved them. Absolutely loved Jerseys. They became part of the family. They were, you know, each one of them was named obviously, and they became pets. You come out there, they love their necks scratched, and you know, it was they become part of your family.
I'm told you bred cows too, like with other farms or within your own farm.
Generally speaking, we did artificial insemination.
Okay.
So, and the reason we did that is we were trying to get specific characteristics of different bulls, and we would pick a bull that we felt would enhance the animal that we were breeding it to. So you have a lot better ability to pick from many bulls if you artificially inseminate.
Did you have bulls yourself, or did you just have? Okay.
No, we just did the artificial insemination.
Okay.
Now, we actually had bulls born, but what we normally do would steer them out. So
Okay.
when you steer them out, you usually raise them for beef.
Let's take another question from the web. Catherine asks, what does corn do to a cow when they are made to consume grass?
Corn is a high energy feed, and like, let me put it in a different perspective. It has high calories. I guess that's the best way to explain it in general terms. You need to supplement to maximize, like for milking. You need to supplement to get the best out of the cow. You need higher calorie feed. So the corn supplements the grass. You can't just feed corn. You have to have grass. Their bellies need grass. So it's the way their digestive system works. It's like humans. Humans need to eat salad. It's good for them. The same with cows. But to get the best results out of the animal, you have to complement the grass with the corn because it's higher energy. So it'll produce more milk, better milk, higher quality milk. So that's kind of what you're looking for. You don't want to feed too much. It wastes money. So you've got to, it's kind of an art. You've got to play with it a little bit to find out what the best mixture is.
Are cows ever picky about their food?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as soon as the beauty is if you have more than one cow there and the other one starts eating it, and it realizes it's not going to get anything, if it doesn't start eating, it'll eat. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's a limit to what you can feed them, obviously. I mean, you can't feed them bad hay. You know, they don't, there's limits to what they will eat. And you try to get them the best food you possibly can. You're trying to take the best care of the animal that you can. So they're like your children. You know, you don't want to go out and give your kids spoiled milk or anything like that. That's the same with the cows. You try to take care of them the best you can. So you try to get them the best feed that you can.
You sound like a really good farmer.
Well, I enjoy it. I really do.
Martha asks, why does Chick-fil-A assume that cows can't spell? These came from the internet. So,
Okay. I don't know how much of that is an assumption or reality. So I don't even know where to go with that question.
well, on a similar vein, have you noticed if you've had a lot of cows, right?
Uh-huh.
So do you notice how well do they seem to be able to communicate with each other and with you? Is there like a
They don't really communicate the way we communicate as humans. They communicate more in the sense that they have a pecking order. So you bring another cow into the herd, and you're going to see them bumping heads. You're going to see them jumping on each other. You're going to see them pushing each other around until there's a pecking order established. You've heard of the term alpha male or alpha female. They do that. So they get this pecking order, and you know, the alpha female rules. She'll go into the barn, and her spot is where she eats. And if anybody's in there eating, she'll go in there and she'll push them out of that spot. So they kind of communicate physically more than they do vocally. Now, when they're in heat, they do moo a lot more. So you'll hear them, for lack of a better word, squawking all night long. So you'll hear them mooing all night long. So in that sense, I would say they're communicating to the males that, you know, they're in heat, and that's part of, you know, the natural discourse of how they do their business.
you said your cows were artificially inseminated, so how do you know when the right time is? Do you wait
good
for
question. That's a good question. They what they do is every 21 days, on average, they go into their cycle, their heat cycle. So you write it down on a calendar so that you kind of track and know about when they're coming due. You'll see physical changes to them, to their body parts, and you'll also see what they'll do is they'll jump on each other, and that'll be the indication that they're ready to be bred. So usually what they call standing heat is they will stand there and another cow will jump on them and they don't move. If they move, then they're not ready to be bred. There's a few days period prior to the time that they're in standing heat that you don't want to breed them because it won't take. So you wait till they're in standing heat, and usually you wait 12 to 24 hours depending on what farmer you talk to, and you breed them at that point. And that gives the time for the egg to move where it needs to move, and you get pretty successful results if you kind of follow that line of thinking. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
How many calves can a cow have? And
Usually over a lifetime or at one time?
both.
Okay. One time usually the most they'll have is twins. Interestingly enough, if you have a male and a female twins, usually the female won't have reproductive parts. They call them free martins. So that's not always the case. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but in some cases that happens. If you have two females, they're fine. If you have two males, they're obviously fine. But if you have a male and a female, you could have some problems. It's a interesting situation in nature, I'll call it that. Over the lifetime of the animal, it depends on the health of the animal. That's why you always try to take the best care of your animal. You take care of their feet, you feed them well, you take care of their bedding, you keep them in the best shape, the best health that you possibly can. Because you want longevity. Because the longer they live, the more calves they produce, the better result the better return in your investment, I should say. So, 10, 12 years is probably a good number to look at but I saw something the other day on TV in Alaska. They had one that had produced for, I think it was like over 20 years. So that's not normal. Usually 10, 15 is really pushing it.
And how long do they wait between calves?
Normally what they do, and again, it depends on what you're doing. For the dairy, what they'll do is, it's just like humans. From the time they conceive to the time the calf's born is usually about 9 months. At that point, the lactation starts after the calf's born, and that's when you milk them. Initially, you milk them and they have colostrum in them. You feed that to the calf. That doesn't go into the milk that you drink. After a couple days, then the colostrum's flushed out, so to speak, and that's when the milk's produced that you drink at home. So from that point, clear up until, well, it depends on the cow, but a lot of times, again, it depends on the cow. You don't push them, and you'll usually wait about 2 to 3 months after they've calved, somewhere in that neighborhood, to breed them back again. And then they're milking that entire time. And then a couple months to a month before they calve, you dry them off, and you have them, and there's a procedure which we won't go into that. It's long. It's not long, but it's not worth hearing. But you dry them out, and you let their bodies kind of reconstitute for 1 to 2 months. It kind of re-energizes their body, and that's prior to birth. And then they calve again, and the same process happens over again.
How do you strike a balance between allowing the calves to nurse and also getting the milk you're trying to get from the dairy cow?
Because of what I was doing with show, I tried to feed them the best that I possibly could. I gave them the colostrum, which their bodies need, because they're born with no antibodies. So they have to have the colostrum to live. So you feed them the colostrum, and then after the colostrum's gone, at that point, that's when I would take them to be milked for consumption. For 2 reasons. One is I was a very specific diet so that I'd get the highest quality components, proteins and things like that for the calf, because I wanted the calf to grow big, strong, and be a very good show animal. So I was very particular about what I gave them, and it was in order to maximize its potential Okay, let me explain it in different terms. If you're working out and lifting, sometimes guys will drink protein shakes, or girls will drink protein shakes, or do whatever that is similar to that. You wanted to make sure that you were giving them the best possible food you could to maximize their growth potential. So keeping them nursing all the time wasn't necessarily the best thing to do. Now with that, you like to keep them on about 3 months for on milk and grain and no hay, no grass. A study that was done at Penn State discovered that if you allowed them to eat grass prior to that point, it would. They have a rumen in their belly. Rumen's kind of what helps them ingest the nutrients, and what the study showed that the rumen would be stunted if you gave them grass prior to that period of time. So that was another very interesting thing. So where we think grass is the best thing for them, it's not necessarily when they're calves. They need the milk or milk replacement and grain. That's what they have when they're first born.
Yeah, so the questions people asked on the web, but I have just one more, if
Sure,
I may.
sure.
You introduced me to your barn cats, and they're adorable. But do cows and cats get along?
Oh yeah, it's kind of funny because the cats would run around the cows, and they would come over and they would the cows would sniff them, and you know how cats like rub up against you? They did that with the cows, and the cows let them do it. They loved it. I mean, it was kind of like almost pets for the cows too. The cats and the cows got along great. They I guess for lack of a better word, they became friends. We've actually seen them laying together before. The cats and the cows were laying together. So yeah, they got along great, and there was no, I was concerned because you care about your cats, you care about your cows. I was concerned that maybe the cats would get hurt. After a while I realized no, they're buddies, they take care of each other, so it worked out real well. And the cats kind of keep the mice and the rats and stuff like that out of the barn. And you don't want that in your barn because the mice and rats still bring disease in. So the cats have a purpose too. They kind of protect the cows, so to speak.
Do you have any more thoughts you'd like to share with?
No, that's
your
pretty much it. I
viewers?
love hobby farming, and you know, I'm just a hobby farmer. So I have another full-time job. My hat's off to the farmers, you know, in this country. They do an incredible service. They feed the world. So, and they get a lot of bad rap a lot of times. They're good people. They care about their land. They care about their animals. So my hat's off to the full-time farmers.